Most local business owners believe one simple thing. If my business is profitable, somebody will buy it. Well, this belief is why thousands of small businesses never sell. And of those that do, many sell for far less than what the owner expected or wanted to get out of them. And the issue generally isn't whether the business makes money. The issue is how dependent the money the business makes is on the current owner. In this video, I want to explain why so many successful local businesses are difficult, if not impossible to sell, even if they make a good profit. And also how the buyers actually think about this. See, there's two very different ways to look at a business. One is from the owner's perspective, and one is from the buyer's perspective. Owners focus on things like income, effort, and emotional factors, like how hard they work to build the business. Buyers focus on things like risk, transferability, and predictability. Buyers don't buy businesses the same way that owners build them. And most owners never really look at their business the way a buyer would until they're forced to when they're trying to sell it. For context, I work with local small business owners on exit readiness and strategies, and I look at businesses through the buyer's lens. My name is Bill. So here's a stat that surprises a lot of business owners out there, even the ones that have been around for a while. And while this stat depends on the data source, it is still shocking. Roughly 60 to 80% of small businesses that are listed for sale never actually get to the closing table. That's over half. Well, that doesn't mean that those businesses are bad. Many of them are great for the people that own them now. Many of them are profitable. Many of them are well run. Many of them provide a great living or lifestyle for the people that own them now. They don't fail to sell because there's no one to buy them. They fail to sell because, from a buyer's perspective, the risk is too high or too unclear. The gap between making the money that the business does and the ease of stepping in is where most deals die. So now I want to be clear about something. I don't want to come off saying that buyers don't care if a business makes money. Buyers absolutely care if a business makes money. Profitability matters. Cash flow matters. And if a business doesn't make enough money, then the rest of this conversation doesn't matter at all. But buyers aren't just buying money. They are buying a future stream of predictable cash flow. They are buying how reliable that money is that the business makes now without the current owner. If a business makes strong enough money, buyers may take steps to mitigate some of these issues. They may hire managers, they may put some systems in place, and they can invest in creating process. But here's the thing, the more work the buyer has to do after closing just to keep the business running, the more risk they price into the deal, and the less you as the owner get paid. So when a buyer looks at a local business, they quickly get past the question, does this make money? If it didn't, we wouldn't be here, right? And they get to the question, what happens when the owner leaves? In a lot of local businesses, the owner is the hub. They handle sales. They make all the key decisions. They manage the people. They solve all the problems. And from the inside, to those of us running the show, that feels like leadership. However, from the outside, that feels like concentrated risk. If the business can't run without you, the buyer doesn't see a clean asset. They see a transition risk, added work, and uncertainty. See, buyers want businesses that can be handed off. What they often see instead are systems that live in people's heads, processes that only work because just one person knows how to do it, customers who are loyal to the owner and not the company. See, none of these things make a business necessarily bad. They just make it harder to transfer. And therefore, it's worth less to a new owner, so they pay less. Even a very profitable business can still be risky. So there's things to worry about like customer concentration. Does all your work come from one customer? We had a client once where 95% of their work came from one client. Too much risk for most buyers. Inconsistent financials and revenue that rises and falls based on the owner's involvement. Again, I could tell you a story about a client we had that only worked when she wanted or needed money. So the business would look great for several months and then it would start to die off. So buyers don't see a business there. Buyers see a job. And buyers don't avoid risk, they just price it into the deal. So we have to be aware of that. So some of the things that we see people say to mitigate some of these things are things like, well, I'll stay on for a year. The problem is what a buyer hears is if it can't run without the current owner, we got a problem. And while lots of deals have transition periods and consulting periods, if it takes you to run it, period, it's not going to be for somebody else. Sometimes sellers say, my employees will handle it. Well, buyers hear, man, I am certainly dependent on these employees. And what happens if they leave? Who's going to manage them? And what if they only like the current owner? Scary stuff. Sometimes sellers say it doesn't matter. Someone will buy the cash flow. And the truth is, it does matter, because what someone is buying is the durability of that cash flow without you. High cash flow eliminates a lot of problems, but it doesn't make them completely something we don't worry about. So here's the part most people miss. Most unsellable businesses are not failing businesses. They're successful, owner-built businesses that provide great income. They support families. They just weren't designed to be sold. They were built as livelihoods or jobs and not as transferable assets. See, sellability isn't about timing the market. It's about preparation. And the goal isn't to sell tomorrow. The goal is to have that option. And that option exists when a buyer can look at your business and say, this works without the person running it now. In the next few videos, I'm going to break down how buyers actually evaluate local businesses, what red flags quietly kill deals, and how owners can reduce buyer risk before ever even going to market. This is the same buyer use eye lens when I assess exit readiness with local business owners. It's not about selling. It's about seeing your business clearly before you ever have to make that decision.